on this problem, I'm going to show you a couple cutting corners things that I think you guys can handle right now. And if you can't, then don't. Okay? But I'm just going to show you based on those checkpoints I was talking about. Okay, first checkpoint, we wanted x squared and x equals number, right? Gap here. So, notice x squared and x are already over here, right? Number's already over there. So to move everything over to that side, just to move the 3 back over here, that seems like a little bit redundant, right? A little unnecessary. So it's already kind of what I want it to be. Couple things wrong. Number 1, x squared is supposed to be in front. Number 2, there's not supposed to be a 5 in front of the x squared, right? So for me, if I see that in my book, the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in the right order. The x squared object followed by the x object equal a gap equals a number, right? I'm going to divide, rearrange, and gap it all at the same time. So I'm dividing by 5, right? So my x squared object, if I divide by 5, is going to be what? X squared. My negative 2x object, if I divide by 5, is going to be? Negative 2/5 x. Gap equals, and my constant if I divide by 5 is going to be minus 3/5. The techniques involved in what we do in steps 1 and 2 in the completing the square technique came from Algebra 1. Skills that we've practiced a lot, we've gotten pretty good at. So the ability to divide by 5, rearrange some stuff all at the same time shouldn't be beyond your capabilities. You might want to take it slowly when you do it if you're going to combine a couple steps together like that. But again, once you get comfortable with it, just know that's legal and you can do that. Know what it's supposed to look like and be able to create the structure. Alright, now, second step, complete the square. Now, again, this is what I do to complete the square every time. I'm going to always put plus a square. On that side, it always looks like that. And what goes in that parentheses is exactly half of that number. When that number is a fraction, there's 2 ways to make half. I can either take half of the top, if it's even, or I can double the bottom if it's odd, right? Top is even, right?
Yeah.
So half of that would just be 1/5. 1/5 squared is equal to 1/25. Remember, squaring a fraction is squaring the top, squaring the bottom individually. 1 times 1 is 1, 5 times 5 is 25. On this side, the very next step is factoring, so I don't care if it looks like a square over here, but on this side I have to add and subtract, so I need it evaluated over here. So again, for me personally, that's what my paper looks like. All the stuff I would do on my scratch sheet of paper over here, I'm just doing this little gap here because it's not that hard to do. But again, half a fraction, even, half of that. If that were odd, you double that. And notice if I double that, 2/10 is the same as 1/5 anyway, right? But 1/5 is better because it's reduced. Alright, what we can see here is I need to add these, but that's not a common denominator. So times 5 will do the trick. So negative 3 times 5 on top, negative 15. 5 times 5, 25. Negative 3/5 in common denominator form is negative 15/25. So factor the left, and again, factoring the left is always going to be a binomial squared. The binomial is created by this, that sign, and this. Okay? X squared is a perfect square, the square root is x. 1/5 squared is a perfect square, the square root is 1/5. The sign of the middle term is negative. A factoring that trinomial should be that easy every time. It should just be boom, boom, boom. X minus 1/5. On the right hand side, negative 15 plus 1 is negative 14 over the common denominator 25. Once again, here I'm at checkpoint number 3, I believe I called it. Check the tape, but I'm pretty sure I called it checkpoint 3 here. Kind of glossed over checkpoint 2. But checkpoint 3 here. Perfect square equals number. Number's negative, right? This is never, ever, ever reduced, not even once. It's a bad idea. Square root both sides. Square rooting the left-hand side just gives me the binomial without the square on it. Square root the right-hand side. The square root of 25 is 5. The square root of negative 14, I have no idea. But I can pull the I out and always put a plus or minus. And since I've got an I, when I move this over to this side, it becomes positive 1/5. I do not want to combine the fractions. I want to keep them separate. I kind of like the I off to the side like that. Again, if you want to leave the I up next to the square root, that's fine with me. But do keep them separate in separate terms like that.